Yo, what is up guys, Eslis Gaming here, back with another video, and in this video is going to be a follow-up video on my Infinite Dreams guide that I did in 2023. Now, if you haven't watched that video, it might still be worth watching that before you continue watching this, so click on the top here where there's a link to the video. But yeah, let's get straight into this video. Alright, so now the reason why I'm doing this video is because recently, if you've been watching my content, especially when I've been streaming live on Twitch, I have been doing a lot of Infinite Dreams, especially since the release of 3.0. Since I got back from playing on Dakar, I got back on playing Takashi, and I've been only doing Dreams after I finished my Sylvan stuff. So I got a lot of people who are new to the game, or returning players, or people who haven't even watched my older content. They've come to me with a lot of questions regarding Dreams. Now, usually I just link the other video, but since it's a little bit outdated, well, actually it's not really outdated because Dreams haven't been changed for the past 3 years, I think. I usually link that video, but I was like, you know what? Some things have changed. In fact, we are now on 3.0. A lot of sets have been changed, equipment, classes, you name it. So I was like, I'm gonna do a follow-up guide on the Infinite Dreams video, and I will give you guys all the information. So in the other video, I actually talked about how to get big chest, when to add bosses, how changing modifiers works, maximizing your buffs, and the best comp and gear advice. Now, like I said, I am still saying you should watch that video first, because I'm not going too in-depth with how adding bosses and all that kind of stuff works. But I'm gonna give you a quick summary before we go to the next part of this video. And the first thing is, when should you start doing Dreams? Now, I've got this question quite a lot by people in chat and Discord. When should you start doing Dreams? The usual question I ask them back is, how many achievement points do you have? And they usually come back with an answer like, I've got 6,000 achievement points, or like 5,000 achievement points. And I'm saying just like, don't touch Dreams. Like, just do dungeon achievements. And the reason is simple, and I've explained this in the other video. Adding bosses, changing modifiers, or buying buffs, it's all locked behind a paywall, and the paywall is basically achievements in the game. So let's say there's a room and you're doing Count Hairbark, for example. And the next room, you've got a maximum agility buff and a Buccaneer boss ad. But you can only buy that maximum agility buff if you've done Count Hairbuck Versatile, for example. The achievements that you need are from the boss that you did in the previous room. So if you're gonna do an account and you want to buy a buff, that buff is gonna be linked to Count. If you're gonna do Climb in Dreams and you want to buy a buff or add a boss, that is locked behind an achievement that's for Climb. So you get the point now. You need achievements in order to run Dreams effectively. Now, how many achievement points do you need? I usually say a minimum of 10,000. And even then, you still need to continuously do dungeons. Like, some people might say, you just run Dreams and you'll see where you end and you're fine. Now, I'm saying that, don't do it, because I know people. I know you guys. When you see a room and there's like an intermediate agility buff, and you have to do a certain dungeon achievement, you're like, you know what, it's just one buff, right? It can't hurt to skip this one, and you're gonna continue. And you're gonna do that not once, not twice, not 3 times. You're gonna do that probably 10 times. Because that's what you get for running Dreams below 10,000 achievement points. Now, ideally, you want to be at minimum of 10,000. The reason why I say 10,000 is that's what I have learned from personal experience when I started doing Dreams runs on the Feka instead of my Panda. My Feka back then, when I started doing that like a year and a half ago, was at 10,000 achievement points. And even then still, when I was doing the run, I usually had to do like 5 to 10 dungeon achievements in between the entire run. So for 200 to 400, that's 200 rooms. I usually had to do a dungeon in between that like 10 times in order to get the buff. I never skipped anything.
Are you sure
I just
about
did
that?
the dungeons because I knew eventually I was gonna do another run and another run and another run. So eventually I had to do them anyways, right? Then when my Feka was at 12,000 achievement points, that's when I noticed that's the sweet spot. 12,000 achievement points, and then I had to barely do any dungeons like every time I did a run. I think the last run I finished last week. If you haven't watched the opening, check the link here. I did another run on the Feka, run 26, I think. I only had to do 1 dungeon achievement in the entire run, I think. which was Recooper. Like, it was easy. But that's because it's a new dungeon. But yeah, other than that, so quick summary. Only do Dreams when you have 10,000 achievement points. If you haven't done that, might do that. Keep in mind though, Dreams is endgame PvM content. So if you haven't learned all the dungeons, I always say, at least have done every single dungeon in the game. Even though you haven't done all of the achievements, at least run every single dungeon in the game. Know the mechanics. So that if you get to Dreams, and you have one room with Count Hairbug, and the other room with Cthulhu, and you have never done either of those dungeons, you're not going to be stuck, because you have to reset. You actually have to have done at least a dungeon once in order for you to be able to do it in Dreams, because it's always locked. So yeah, that's it for the achievement part. Now, what element should you focus on? Like, if you see people run Dreams, you usually see them having a lot of agility buffs. The reason being is, if you look at all the bosses in the game, and you check their resistances, agility is on average the lowest resistance. And some bosses, like a lot of them actually, have negative ARS. And on top of that, you can lock and dodge enemies more easier than with other elements. But you are not limited to this. You can run multi-crit builds. You can do full strength run as well if you want to. Heck, last year, I actually challenged myself to do a chance run where I ran with an Eka, a Shram, and a Ripsa. And it worked perfectly fine. I got a decent results. Like, it's not that bad. So don't be scared. I always say to people, your first run, do with whatever equipment you have. Do with whatever team composition you have and just run it. See how far you get. If you have to reset, you have to reset. It doesn't matter. You learn from that. It's a learning experience. And in the end, you're going to improve your team. You get used to adding bosses. You get better buffs. You do challenges and all that kind of stuff. And that's when you can improve and make your team composition more effective. That's a good segue for the next point, is do challenges. The amount of time I've seen people do Dreams and they reach floor 325, and for those of you who know, that's when the purple chests start to drop, and they are running around with 200 agility, 100 fit, maybe some other stats, and they have no spare points. And I'm like, how can you have such low buffs and no points spare? And that's usually because they never do chels. Starting from floor 200, you have to do double chel every single room. With the only exception being if you get shitty chels in one of the early floors, because you can pay 50 points in order to change chels, but in the first 20 floors, you're actually losing out on points if you do that. So then I'd say if you get like Survivor, for example, don't lose health, fine, fail, it doesn't matter, right? However, I would usually say in 90% of the rooms, you do double chels. And even if you fail a chel, at least do one of them. And when you get to the blue chest stages, so floor 270 plus, the base points of the rooms, they are quite high. So if you do a couple rooms with double chel, that usually will get you a lot of points. And then you can stop doing chels after floor 325, because that's when you focus on chests instead of buffs. And usually you will never run out of points anyways. Yo guys, I want to quickly interrupt this video to ask if you are already subscribed to the channel. If you're not, and if you're new to this channel and you like my content, please hit that subscribe button below. Like the video if you like this type of content, and enjoy the rest of the video. Now the next thing I want to talk about is team composition. What is the best team? People always ask me, and I always say, run with whatever you want. Technically, you can run Dreams with any team comp. Now, of course, there's a difference between running with any team comp and running with the most effective team comp. Now, it has been proven that if you run with a Panda, a Feka, a Masquerader, and a Uginak, that you will have generally better results because it's CC, it has high damage, it has shields, it has sustain, lifesteal, it has positioning. And usually the people who spam Dreams often and do multiple runs, they run with this comp because it's fast, quick, and effective. Wait, fast and quick is the same thing, whatever. But I get it, not everyone who does regular PvM has an Uginak or a Mask or whatever. Another effective comp would be a range comp with a Craw and a Trough. You can even run a Theka or any other range class. You can run with an Annie, it's fine. If you're planning on doing a strength run, you could, for example, run with a Shram, an IOP, Sacrier, or even an Annie Ripsa, they're quite good. Key point here being like, you kind of want your entire team to be the same element, so you can focus on that element as a buff. So my entire team is focusing on agility. That doesn't mean when I'm doing a range comp run, so for example, I'm running with close combat comp, right? But for Fraxal, I'm switching to range. I'm going with Kra and Trafeka. Even though I focus on agility buffs, I'm still playing Chance Feka because it's a ranged build. Getting some power buffs helps with that, of course. But you are not limited to this. But don't go range comp and go with Chance Feka, agility Enutrof, and then strength Kra, for example, and be 3 different elements. Because overall, you will lack a lot of damage. Go and focus on one element, regardless of the comp you're running. Now, I want to do a quick summary of the video that I did earlier before I go to the sets that you can use. Is when to get big chests is simple. You have the floor level and you have the room difficulty level. Floor level, let's say you're floor 250. If the room is 270, it's still a small chest. The moment your floor level is 25 points above the floor level, it's going to get medium chest. If it's a 50 points above the floor level, it's going to get a big chest. Anything between that, so let's say you have 35 points above the floor level, you subtract 25 because you're going to get medium chest. You got 10 points left. 10 times 2 is 20% chance of upgrading to a bigger chest. If that's confusing to you, watch the other video, Dreams Guide, link in the description below, where I will explain this in more in depth. When to add bosses, I usually start around floor 220. Adding a boss will cost you 50 points, and I've noticed that between floor 200 and 220, if you spend that 50 points adding a boss, you usually don't really win a lot of points. So I'm just trying to speedrun the first 20 rooms, and then starting on floor 220, I usually start adding bosses. After that, you want to add a boss every single floor that doesn't give you a buff. Obviously, if a room gives you a buff, you're gonna go for that buff. Otherwise, you add a boss. Changing modifiers is usually not really needed between floor 200 and 325. After you get to 325, you're focusing on the big purple chests. If you get a difficult room that you want to get, you can change modifiers. If you change the Dreams modifier, it will take down 10 points of the room. A Paradox modifier, it will take down 25 points. And a Nightmare modifier, it will take 40 points. Now, there are some cases where a room gives so many points, where even if you change the modifier, it will still remain a big chest. And that's when you're gonna change the modifier, because why wouldn't you, right? It just makes the fight easier. For maximizing buff, I just explained there. You focus on one element for your entire team. And now we're gonna go to some gear stuff. Right, so now we are on to the point where we're talking about some gear stuff. Now, so this might be the biggest change since the actual Infinite Dreams guide that I did 2 years ago. So since Dreams hasn't been updated for the past years, effectively I'm still doing the exact same thing, same comp, same everything. The only thing that has changed is my equipment. So I think in that video, I've actually had the older gear that I have is linked in that video. But since the 3.0 update, and especially the shield changes, I had to change my set. Now, I didn't have to do it, but because I'm running the most effective way, I did do it. So what has changed? Shields % bonuses have been removed. So that's effectively 15% melee damage or 14% range damage that you're losing out. Feka's Pastureland Glyph, I think the old name was Fumulating Glyph or something like that. It used to give 15% melee damage, now it gives 10% final damage. So you can either use it in close combat or range. But that's effectively 5% damage that you're losing out. The Uginak Dogginess spell has been nerfed from 15% to 10%. But I think that's not with the 3.0 update, but I think they've done that a couple months ago. Effectively, everything combined, I have lost 25% final damage. Now, people have said, oh, you can compensate that with the new set bonus changes and the shields. Well, I'm saying to that, well, that's not true, because 25% final damage will never be compensated with a Cyclone shield or anything like that. However, I did manage to build new sets that effectively can, for 80%, 90% make up for the damage loss, I guess. So let's talk about this. You can see instantly the Death-Defying shield. Now, I've got a Feka build, an Uginak build, and a Mask build. They are all three different, and the reason for that I'll tell you. But they all run Death-Defying shield. The reason for that is when the bearer has more than 50% of their HP, their close combat damage is increased by 10%, but they have the damage they suffer is increased by 15%. When they have less than 50% HP, the damage is reduced by 20%. It gives 50 power, some good vitality, initiative, whatever. The stats is not even the important thing. Is that on turn 1, when you're still full HP, you get 10% extra final damage in close combat. Now this is really important if you want to kill anything, and especially bosses on turn 1, because that's just what makes the fight easier, right? Now, I'm running that on every character. I'm still running the same pretext, Cloudy Dofuses, Dofus, Abyssal, and all that kind of stuff. Now let's go over the changes between the Uginak mask and the Feka. For the Feka, because the Feka I kind of hit with the int spells quite a lot, I chose to go with the Cycloid set. And I also, by the way, all of them use the Mino belt. I chose to go 12-5 instead of 12-6 because I'm using Abyssal anyway. So if I'm not in CC, I'm still getting the MP. But effectively, this will actually open up an extra trophy slot because I don't need to use a Velbis. And on top of that, the Mino belt just gives good stats as well. And it makes it easier for me to be 12 AP without needing an AP pad. So I'm running with the Colophant and all 3 characters. I actually bought 2 of them extra. So Feka's going with Cycloid no Marrow, so I can hit more with int on that. The Hunter Dagger is still the same thing, and of course the Colophant. The Uginak is running. This is similar to my old build where I had Alistair, Bubotron set. But now I went Bubotron, no Marrow with the Jahash, same shield, Death Defying with the Colophant. Of course, the Mino belt for 12 AP. Really good set. I do tend to focus on crits, so the Feka set has some overmages on crit on the amulet, the hat, for example, and the weapon. 80% crits with really good stats. The Feka always has to go first in initiative, so this set is 3000 initiative, really good. The Uginak set is about 2800, so Uginak is gonna be after the Feka with 80% crits on that. Really high agility still, like almost 1400 stats combined compared to the Feka, which is like 1350. Also, all 3 of them using a Jahash. Now, you don't need a Jahash. You can use the Indescribable Cape, which gives like 500 fit, 90 agi, 20 air damage and 15 crit damage, which is a really good cape as well. You can overmace Transcendence Rune, 2% crits on that if you want to. Now, with the mask, I went with full no Marrow. I actually went with a Treadfast Amulet, Jahash, and Alice Ring, and the cape. Now, I think I could get more out of this, but this is also what I have with the existing items. The initiative is lower on this one. I had to go... I couldn't go with the Cycloid set on the mask, because then it would have higher initiative than the Uginag, and I don't want that. So this is what I use on my team. Now, you might think like, oh my god, this is super expensive. This is what I use. This is what, if you're running with close combat comp with Ugi, Feka, Mask, this is what is the most effective. Panda's just using a regular tank set, nothing special with that. You don't have to run with this. By the way, I think the Death Defying shields isn't even the expensive thing here. The most expensive thing is probably the Colophant and the Jahash, and maybe the Exos. But you can run without the Jahash just fine. You can go with a Cycloid shield, or maybe even an Alistair shield for some extra set bonuses, and you should be just fine. You'll probably not be able to one-turn all of the bosses. Like, even I struggled with this set. I think I did Naidas 3 times during the run. Only one time where it was like floor 280, 290. That was when I managed to kill Naidas on turn 1. But later on, I couldn't do it anymore. Even though before 3.0 on 2.0, I was just fine killing Naidas every time turn 1. Even with this Opti set, I just can't do it anymore at higher floors. Even with, I think I almost had like 1800 agility as a buff, it was just not possible. But you have to play around in different ways. You have to play a little bit more careful. Just gotta play smart, guys, and then you can run Dreams with any comp. Now, if you're playing with a range comp, I do not advise on Death Defying because it's melee damage. just go with a cycloid shield. That's what I usually when I go fractal and I want to go range comp, I switch my Feka. With my Feka set, I'm switching the shield to a cycloid shield. Obviously, I'll have 4 cycloid parts then. So I'll remove the amulet and just add a Treadfast amulet. I'll add Treadfast Battle as well, and then I'll add a Velbis for the MP and play 12-6. Now, I do want to touch on this. Some people have asked me what sets I've been running when I run my 400 plus run. Now, everything that I've talked about in this video and everything that I talked about in the other guide are points that are good for if you're running a run from 200 to 400 and then reset your run, start over. Once you get to floor 400 plus, you're not dropping any chest anymore. You're only getting the ornaments and just the thrill of doing high-end PVM. However, if you are interested in doing high dreams, so that's past floor 400, then this is the set you want to aim to get. This is you can ignore this entire thing if you're never planning on doing high dreams. This is what you get after floor 500. Not 400, because then you still got shitty buffs. 500, because that's effectively when you have a good amount of vitality buffs, good amount of agility buffs. And that's when you want to focus on high resistances. So this set focuses on getting 50% res every element. Basically 100% crits. It's 93%. It's 12-6-6. Very good set. Because, of course, with dreams, you cannot buy resistance buffs or crit buffs or anything. So that's what this set is about. Now, the only way this actually works is if you have insane amounts of buff. And I'm talking about when you are at floor 500, you probably already want to have between 3,000 and 4,000 vitality as a buff. Otherwise, you will be too squishy. And you also kind of want maybe like 3,000, 3,500 agility as a buff and a lot of power, of course. Otherwise, you will have too low damage, too squishy, and you're gonna be in hell of a trouble. But this is effectively my set. I will also link this in the description below if you are interested in this. And I do, again, want to revert back to my old dreams video that I did here. Where I talk over everything. So everything that I went over quickly in this video will explain more in depth. Just one thing that I missed though, and that is this spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet that I made myself. It's a combination between 2 older French spreadsheets. They are outdated and in French. So I decided to make a full English one. Updated with all the info from both the French spreadsheets and the added information of my own and people who are helping in the Discord as well. So basically, the thing is that it's important to check in this list. Is on the left, you can see the entire list of names, all alphabetic order. This part here is what is important for you. You have min, max, and average. Min, this is basically the amount of points a boss will add to a room once you've added. This could be very handy if you want to determine if adding, for example, bad tofu will actually give you enough points to make the room go from a medium chest to a big chest. Or maybe you want to add another boss like Damadraya because it might give more points. And that's what this spreadsheet is for. Link in the description below. Everything that's on the right side is basically what is ever been added. Like, I'm just going to do a quick example and then I'm going to end this video. Wawabit, for example, on the French spreadsheets, there was no info on this boss. So I added it a couple of times. Every time it has a dreams modifier, these are the points that got added in this line over here. Every time there was a paradox, it's the orange box, and for nightmare, it was the other one. So this is basically the spreadsheet. If you think this might be helpful for you, link in the description below. But yeah, you're probably not going to need it for your first run because you want to get used to just doing the bosses on its own. Like chest, just try to do one run with whatever you have. That's my general advice. Comment below if you got any questions regarding dreams. There's just one more thing I want to mention is that dreams is possibly going to get revamped in September at the end of 2025. So you might have like 7 more months.
Are you kidding me?
Enjoy the way dreams is right now, because we don't know what's gonna happen after September. It might be a full revamp. It might just stay the same with some changes. We don't know. We don't know what's gonna happen with chests, legendaries, the ornaments, if they're gonna stay or gonna get removed. We don't know. So hopefully this was helpful for you guys. My goal for now is reaching floor 2000 before September, because I think maybe not, they might remove the ornaments or make them rare, just like they did with the idol ornaments. They got removed from the game. If you have them, you can still use them, but new people, they can't get them anymore. So I kind of want to reach floor 2000, so that's what my focus is on right now for the upcoming months. So if you see me streaming, I usually do Infinite Dreams. I'm currently at floor 1140, something like that. So if you want to watch that, go to my Twitch, go hit me up with a follow, like and subscribe to the video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.